Welcome to Leadership Matters, a podcast hosted by me, Steve Parker. This is a series that brings a fresh perspective to leadership, motivation, and how to succeed by talking to a diverse range of CEOs, business managers, and world-class talent. We also offer some personal tips to help you in your career. Each episode aims to provide a snapshot into the life and philosophy of some of Taiwan and the world's most successful leaders, and to find out more about why leadership matters. We're very, very lucky to have Eric Meyer in the studio today. Eric Meyer is the CEO of Tidex Global. He's the chief evangelist of Deeper Network. We're going to ask him what that means in a moment, don't worry. He's been in the blockchain industry for 6 years and previously a core member at CoinMarketCap. He's on the front page of the cryptocurrency industry. It's an interesting industry, especially right now, and it's a fantastic opportunity to chat to him about him and his role in it. Eric?
Hey, very happy to be here, Steve. Thank you.
Good to see you. No, it's I've known you for a long time, but we haven't seen each other for like about 18 months or something.
Yeah, we used to play music together, and things got really busy for both of us.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm always in awe of people like you who we're going to talk about this in a moment, but one of the things that's interesting about you is that you're actually managing two organizations at the same time. Tell me how that works out.
Yeah, well, as CEO of Tidex, I'm managing the company itself, naturally with the position. And, in the crypto space, you're doing multiple things. And I was previously the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer for Deeper Network. And then I got this opportunity at Tidex. So I left Tidex. My position changed when I left Deeper Network, and it's I do a lot of PR stuff, and I'm the face of the company still, and anything that's PR related, I'm doing AMAs, which is Ask Me Anything. It's basically online session where the community asks you questions and you have to answer them. So I do a lot of those things, and behind the scenes, there's a lot of other marketing material and related items that I have to do.
And these are all in crypto, right?
It's all crypto.
It's all crypto. I mean, what part of this do you do, and how do you explain it really simply to kind of idiots like me who are...
I think the people, you're going to read things on the news or in the media about, Bitcoin going to zero. And it's gone to, they've had those kind of situations over 200 times where they say Bitcoin's going to go to zero. And a lot of times that stuff is propaganda by the institutions that decentralization does not benefit. So centralized banking systems, and they're very powerful. So they put out these hit pieces against an industry that's very rapidly growing. And so it's natural for these things to come out. And if you were to listen to those things, you're going to miss the boat.
Okay. So is crypto's moment now?
Absolutely. This is still early. And if you look at, when I was young, I was around 10 to 13 years old or something when the dot-com bubble came and it bursted later. But I missed all that. I was a kid. I was playing sports in school. I had no part of that. And, I had a computer, did my things and chatted and stuff. But so I was kind of involved. But I had no, a lot of people who are billionaires today had gotten started during that time. Even at a young age, they started companies with their friends and stuff that became, look at Elon Musk, right? He had PayPal. And so as I grew up, I told myself, I can't miss another opportunity like that, even though I was so young. But I said, something's going to come around and I can't miss another opportunity. And here I am. This is the second opportunity that I have, and I didn't miss it.
So what, really let's go. Well, I want to get onto leadership in a moment, but I still want to kind of drill into this crypto thing for a second.
Okay, yeah.
Right? What do you do in crypto?
Mm-hmm. Well, as CEO, you're overseeing the performance of the company. So you got to lead the entire team. You got to inspire them. There's a lot of business development stuff, discussion about partnerships, strategizing, and just you're basically representing the company. So from a CEO point of view, you're looking at a lot of those things. You're looking at budgets and, doing reports for the chair. At Deeper Network, I am the main representative for the company. I know the tech, and I discuss that with media, with interviews and people, and update the community with news. So it's very PR related what I'm doing now for Deeper Network. And then behind the scenes, there's also a lot of technical stuff that we have to do with exchanges and stuff like that.
And is crypto going to end up being, is this one of these industries where there's a bunch of players out there and ultimately, eventually, it's going to kind of whittle down to a few?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So is this the war right now?
It's the exploration. It's like the frontier, and people are getting the wagons and they're just going for it, But only 5% are going to survive. And 95% of the cryptocurrencies out there right now are not going to exist in 5 years or 10 years. So yeah, it's still very, very new, like I mentioned, and it's going to change for sure. And it's such a fast moving industry that things come and go in months.
How do you get people to work, for you and to understand it and to buy into the vision? And how do you get people who work for you that are not just coming because it's crypto and they've heard it's cool? You know what I mean? You've got two kind of issues there.
Well, the money is good. Yeah, I got to say, in the blockchain crypto industry, they need people. And the money is a huge factor, deciding factor. But I think it's the whole, what I talked about before, missing the boat. A lot of people, they know this is up and coming. It's going to be a part of everything. And so if you don't join it now and you want to stick to your, traditional kind of office job for the rest of your life, then don't come. But if you want some new exploration and new ideas and new technology, then blockchain is the place to be, really.
How do you encourage people to come into a company and say, we're going to be good. We're going to be here for 5 years. We're going to be here for 10 years. We're going to be here for the rest of your life if you need us,
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of the things that people are doing in the traditional industries do carry over from over to crypto. And if you look at a lot of the people in crypto, they're coming from different industries around the world, whether it's banking, and it's not sometimes not even finance related. They're just doing marketing. I mean, marketing is in everything, right? So all the skills that they have, they're able to contribute and bring over into crypto. And so I think there's some comfort level there where they at least they know when they come, they can they can do what they're good at. However, they have to realize these people who are coming over, there's going to be people that are just against it because they're not supportive of learning new things. But some people, most people, they're very open to new things and learning new skills. And those people that come over, they're comfortable with, okay, as long as they know they can learn, they can understand things, that as the day progresses, as the year progresses, they'll learn new skills.
So, Eric, I wanted to come back and kind of maybe just go in a little bit deeper into some of the stuff we started to talk about. Is a company the same in crypto as it is in any other industry? Do you manage the same way?
I would say no. I think one of the biggest things leading in a new industry is, when you're working for a traditional company, a lot of times these established companies, they have their own methods. They have their SOPs, they have the rules. Everything is kind of structured already. When you come into a new industry like crypto, most of the companies are startups. And when you're in a startup, you have to do everything. So even my position as CEO or CMO in the past, I'm doing things just what's needed. As a startup, that's what you need to do. You have to get your hands dirty. I'm not against that. I'm totally for that because along the way you learn things that maybe you missed in the past. As well as working in a new industry, one of the biggest things is you're setting the standard. You're setting you're creating something new, and you're not really following rules. So there's that exploration opportunity where you can, create new things and new ways of doing things.
Do you have a philosophy of leadership? I mean, there are people that, on this show, we've talked about people that, they subscribe to agile leadership, especially with the startup space, things like this. Do you have a kind of a personal philosophy?
I do. I'm not one about position power and, putting the fear in your employees and making sure that they do their jobs. I'm not about that at all. If you didn't know who I was and you came into the company, you would never guess I was the CEO. I like to empower other people. Anything that I learned, if I just learned it yesterday, I'd be willing to share and teach that person, and hopefully they can make that better, whatever it is I'm teaching them. So I think empowering others, and that's not just a motto in my leadership, and it's a motto of my life, really. I found that empowering others at the end basically ultimately empowers yourself.
I mean, Google's a mature company now,
Absolutely.
right? But when Google kind of came through, Alphabet, you know, they kind of changed the paradigm a little bit, right? You know, it was all about snacks and napping tables and,
Free lunch.
Right?
Yeah.
It was all, and it was, I mean, it ended up being a bit of a scam in some ways because people they spend all their times at their desks and in the office. They never leave because they've got foosball tables, they've got pool tables, you know. I mean, do you have to do all this kind of stuff in crypto to keep people engaged and in?
No. You know where the benefits are with crypto is the ability to be able to work remotely and control your own schedule throughout the day. You no longer have to work at, starting 9 o'clock and then clock out and make sure you have only 1 hour lunch. Working remotely is the best thing. That's for me. I love it. And I'm able to control my schedule. I work better at night when it's quieter and my brain functions better. So I work late into the night, and during the day I get to do things, that I need to do. I mean, if you're running errands, you're not going to be able to do that at midnight. Everything's closed. But now I can just go to the post office, do whatever I need, and have that freedom. But the other thing is working remotely. If you look back into history, the working conditions of people just around the world continues to improve, right? Back in the olden days, there was child labor, right? Now there's no longer that. There's all these things that happen. And I remember back when I was an architect, I used to be a landscape architect in the U.S.
Is there anything you haven't done?
Podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember that this company I was working for called LPA, and it was they had the option to have 4-day weekdays or half-day Fridays. You had to choose, and there was that flexibility. And I think there was a need for that at a very, decades ago. And so we continue to need that. When people are working, like they need flexibility. And in the traditional workspace, traditional workforce, a lot of times there's no flexibility. You have to take, if you want to go see a doctor, you have to take 2 hours off, 3 hours off. And it's like, everything is like down to the minute, And I there was a need for this kind of flexibility. So with COVID, this forced things to happen. And so now people are able to work remotely. Some never have to go into the office. Of course, you're going to have a lot of pushback from that, as things change. But I think ultimately it's changing. Right now, it's changing the way we work.
So I've had people have come in to talk to me about leadership, and they've said to me that, remote working, it doesn't work for them because they want to know. They want to know where people are. Mm-hmm. They want to know what they're doing. They want to know. They don't believe, if they don't see them, right? If they don't see them, they don't believe they're working. Yeah. How do you respond to something like that?
Well, that's just, I don't subscribe to that at all. I think you have to learn how to manage KPIs. You have to learn how to set those things. And you talked about OKRs. To be able to track those, as long as the result is there, really people can do whatever they want. I mean, people work at different paces too, right? Some people need hours and hours to do this one thing. Another person might have a really good way to figure out how to get that same result just within, half an hour. So why force that half an hour person to sit there and milk them for other stuff?
You're speaking to the converted here. I years ago, I had an employee. I'm sort of share very quickly. I had an employee, and people used to complain about this employee because they would always go home on time or early, right? And basically my response to them was, yeah, but she's better than you all are.
Exactly.
Right? She just got everything done. Yep. She got it all done in the time, and she went away and she had a great work-life balance for her. She did what she had to do. She was just better. She was quicker. let's not say better, right? Let's say she was just quicker. She achieved everything she had to do, right?
Yeah.
Efficiency, you know?
And it's not fair because if you all know, you always have, maybe you are that person who is better at doing something. And guess what? You end up with all the work. And you get overworked because they're like, well, she's really good at it or he's really good at it. Let's give it to him. And then, and you don't really necessarily always get compensated for it. So, yeah.
We talked a little bit about learning and development. I want to move a little bit onto, but how do you personally keep on top of all the stuff that you've got to do and manage your daily,
Honestly, interacting with people is the way I learn the most. And I'm not afraid to ask questions. And, I'm not a CEO that knows everything. Nobody knows everything. So if I don't know something, I will go ahead and ask it. If it's something like very, very technical, I'll ask my devs a particular question and try to, ask it in a way that they would be able to share. And
I'm going to just check you there for a second. Devs is, what does that mean?
It's developers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these
like
are software coders. Okay, cool.
Yeah, hardware, software. Yeah. So like you ask it in a way that they want to share that with you because, devs are a different breed. So sometimes they're not very social. So you have to dig that out of them and you learn from that. Just talking even from regular work meetings with other companies, you discuss things and you learn things from meetings as well. And so it's not always just from reading. It's not always like that kind of traditional, reading and learning and memorizing and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So I think this thing, asking questions is a big one, right?
Yeah. Don't be like shy to, because a lot of people think, oh, what if they think I'm stupid? Like I don't know what I'm talking about.
So this is the old school CEO. The
Yes.
old school CEO is supposed to be the font of all knowledge.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I know it. People come to me and we still, we're both in Taiwan. We still have a bit of that going on in Taiwan. We know that. Maybe it's a global thing, but my experience is here. Where the chairman or the CEO or the whoever it is, there's a meeting, everybody waits, and then eventually the CEO speaks, and then everybody goes, right?
Yeah.
And they all go, any questions? And nobody has any questions, right? And so whatever harebrained idea, maybe it's a good idea, right? 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be a good idea, right? CEO, there's a reason you're the CEO, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know everything, right? And I think that's a super important, super important thing to remember.
Yeah. I mean, imagine when you were younger, back in the 1800s, Steve. No, but if a CEO had at that time came up to you, Steve, and asked you a question about something you were good at, you sharing that, doesn't that empower you? Don't you feel good about that? After you share it, what's the first feeling you have? You feel good about yourself. You feel confidence, right? Not, oh, this CEO doesn't know anything, right? So that goes back to, asking people the right questions, empowering others by teaching them. If you build confidence in your employees, they're going to feel better. They're going to feel like they know what they're doing. They're going to do way more than you expect when you do that, So that's all. That's the whole thing. Yeah.
I'm going to come on to a little bit of, I want to talk about project management as opposed to kind of company management for a second. Is that a different kind of management from running the company management?
Yes. And, you have, for instance, if you're talking about devs, you have a CTO, the Chief Technology Officer, who does that. You don't have to do everything, and you don't have to talk to the devs either. You talk to the CTO. What's the current progress, right? And you manage them. And so managing projects, you have other team members that manage those projects, and they report to you as a CEO. But as far as management of the company itself, that's different. You're looking at other things that other of your coworkers aren't really looking at. The financial officer, they're going to have their thing. So you kind of get all the C people together, and you talk about, you have them report to you, and then so you have a better idea of what the company is doing. Yeah.
So how often do you have meetings in a week?
Once.
Just once. Is that a full team meeting?
With the team, yeah. With the team. I don't like to strap people down with tons of meetings. I think it hinders their performance as well. They feel drained if they have to have a meeting every day. But I have tons of meetings a week with other people. But as far as team goes, I only require one mandatory meeting at the beginning of the week.
And it's set time every week.
Yep.
Same time, they know.
Set.
They've got to be prepared.
Oh yeah, they got to do the reports. We have an agenda. You have to let them know ahead of time what's going to be talked about so they can be prepared. And otherwise, and you want to run an efficient meeting. I try not to let my meetings go over 1 hour, and I think that's important too, because these endless meetings sometimes that go for hours and hours, it really drains you. And for the rest of the day, nobody wants to do anything.
What about outcomes and following up? I mean, meetings got to have an agenda. I get that. Who's responsible for ensuring that whatever's agreed on is then carried out?
Well, the way you leave that previous meeting that you discussed that particular item, you make sure it's clear, where the ball is. Is it in your court or in my court? And you follow up by presetting this. I'll talk to you in a week on Monday by this. So you'll send it to me by noon on Monday. Is that right? You confirm these things before. If you leave it open-ended, it's going to be very hard to meet any deadline. So you got to set those kind of deadlines at the end. Not in a hard way, just in a friendly way.
These are kind of small detail stuff, but I think they're super important because I think in my experience, a lot of meetings get to the end of the meeting and the only thing that's decided is when you're going to have another meeting, right?
Yay!
It's like, okay, so we'll meet next week, and in the meantime,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to make that stuff clear, and that's part of remote work. And if you manage that well, remote work is great. Because then you don't have to, sit in an office all day. I go around, I see people like going to lunch. It's like letting poor animals out of the cage, but they have to come back later. It's just I don't know how people do it anymore. I couldn't do it.
Eric, I mean, we could talk forever on a lot of this stuff, and I know, but I just want to kind of bring it all back and see if I've kind of got what you're trying to tell me. What I've heard from you about the industry, that you're working in a new industry, so. In a sense, you're creating the processes as you go. It's a startup, right? Startups, everybody has to be responsible for everything.
Exactly.
Right? You can't be, well, that's not my job, right? We've all heard that before, right? You have to do what's needed in order to get to where you want to go. And in a sense, you're setting the standards as you go, right? You're creating the SOPs for the next time. And then you'll adjust it and keep going. But don't be afraid to kind of revisit those and go, well, kind of worked, but maybe we can do something a bit better, right? Mm-hmm. I'm hearing from you a lot about empowering others, and I love that about you. I've, you and I have played music together, and you've always empowered me to be the rock star while you're the support group, and I really appreciate that about you.
I don't mind it.
But empowering others, I think, is and what I'm hearing from you is you empower others, but also by empowering them, what you're doing is you're learning from them and what they do, right? They're taking control of the process. They may be more knowledgeable than you in some areas, and you're allowing them to share and show that knowledge and learning from that as well.
Let them shine.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Let them shine. That's going to be the name of my new book. Don't be afraid to ask questions, right? There's a lot of CEOs, leaders, middle managers, and even new employees who are afraid to ask the questions. If you don't know, ask. If it's, I think if you let it go too long, right, it gets to a point where you can't ask anymore. You're supposed to know that stuff, right? Ask when you need to know, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning, just ask the question. Putting leaders in charge of projects, and again, it's part of your empowering, but you don't have to be. As a CEO or as a leader, you don't have to be in charge of everything. Mm-hmm. You empower somebody else to lead and run a project.
Yep. Focus on the high-level stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, this idea of meetings, managing meetings. We all need to have meetings. We need to have processes, right? But set the agenda, be clear on who has to do what, and know when those things have to be achieved by. Sounds very simple, but I think some of us forget these just basic daily routines.
Yep, absolutely.
Eric, you're an inspiration to me as always.
You too, Steve.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You can listen to this podcast live on the fourth Monday of every month on ICRT, and after that on the ICRT website, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Leadership Matters by Steve Parker. You can also check out my social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, everything. We'll see you next time.